starting with OEMs, you decide the rules of the game, or you decide how the game is played. How is OEMs of this world who are shaping our automobile industry or mobility, looking at all this green mobility evolution? What are we all are aware that you are bringing up new models, new fuel efficient cars, carbon neutrality and so on and so forth. But I would like to understand from you, from OEM eyes, how are you greening yourself first and how are you helping green the industry? So we'll be grateful if you can throw some light on what OEM perspectives are about this future of green mobility. Ajay.
Thank you, Dr. Utgikar. Rightly, you mentioned this topic and you also touched upon the topic of G20 summit, which was recently held. I remember what was said by Mr. Amitabh Kant during this G20 summit, wherein he has clearly given mandate, I will say, to every resident of this country that by 2030 we have to have 100% electrification for 2 and 3 wheelers, and also to take a target of 65% of electrification for state transport. So it means there is a clear-cut push and support which is given by government of India itself. When government is taking these many initiatives, that time OEMs are also taking their own responsibilities. And not only my company, but I can see even many other bigger OEMs, they are also shouldering their part of share. I will give just one example. For example, my company, we have taken a target of having carbon neutral zero by 2050. And to bring down the carbon footprint by 30% by, let's say, 2030. So these are the mandates what we have taken. I can see other industries also who are working very closely and meticulously to bring down the carbon footprint. So when as a supplier of the cars, when these OEMs are looking at themselves, that time what I can see is that rather than demanding the incentives from the government, now they have chosen a different path, I will say, wherein they have changed their complete the way of working or the complete methodology. Earlier, these green initiatives were only a part of CSR. But now this is no more a part of CSR. This has become a part of their daily operations, I will say. While designing and defining any strategy, these big OEMs, they are coming out with the policies. Let it be the material procurement policy, let it be the manufacturing policy. Everywhere the environment is always taken into the consideration. We always talk about 4R or 5R, that is refuse, reuse, recycle, remanufacture, etc. So these initiatives are always taken into the consideration. I'll give you one example. For example, a company like Renault in Europe, they implemented this kind of strategy for remanufacturing of their certain gearboxes and other mechanical parts. And the benefits what they got for their utilities were enormous. I think almost 70 to 80% as far as their benefits were concerned. So these are the different initiatives what the OEMs are taking and what responsibility they are shouldering.
That's brilliant. So basically you are saying you have net zero targets. Auto OEMs are complying to environmental social governance norms. So they are taking this greening business very seriously. They are following the circular economy principle, reduce, recycle, reuse, replenish, replace, repurpose, to ensure that the waste is minimized, footprints are minimized. Yeah. So a very good perspective of what you are doing on the supply side to bring that thing. That's really heartening to know. So it's not always the demand side or the consumers, but I think the OEMs who are also, I'm sure the paint shop and other places are huge consumers of energy, and they are also trying to source some green energy solutions, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
In fact, I would like to give one more example that many OEMs, they are setting up their own solar plants.
look at that. Yeah.
So all rooftops are covered by solar panels, which themselves are catering their own energy and their own resources.
So you are also facilitating transition to energy, cleaner, greener energy. Now, Shirish, that brings me to you. As someone who is heavily involved in automation, no discussion today can be complete without mention of Industry 4.0. Or we are also talking about Industry 5.0, where there is a coexistence, collaborative robots and all that. So how is automation, robotics, initiatives in digitalization, or for that matter Industry 4.0 are helping accelerate this green mobility? If you can shed some light.
Wonderful. I think it's a wonderful perspective. Let me step back and bring a perspective on how this is organized.
Yeah.
For example, for say OEM, which is manufacturing say electric vehicle or auto vehicle, then you have consumers who are actually going to consume those as products. You have MSME, which is actually either could be a tier 1 to a OEM or independently manufacturing that particular vehicle, I would call it, maybe hybrid vehicle, electric vehicle. Eventually, if you see, there is a balance between energy that you have exposed for running your operations, that is getting fed in to be utilized in a more efficient way, so that you eventually get reduction in all the waste that you are having. It could be, you can apply a lean principle of 7 waste to identify all the waste and eventually getting that removed. You want to get all the data that you have getting available for decision making. So you are going to make your decision more and more fact based at the point of time, data driven. These elements, stepping back one more dimension of how much that is the energy that you are spending, the efforts you are spending for bringing your product right from the inception to realization. Element of virtual prototyping or simulation comes into picture, which not only OEMs but the tier 1s, MSME have to actually adhere to. So aspects of this tool coming into picture, what I'm talking about is end-to-end automation of the process. So in Industry 4.0, whatever elements that you talk about, say robotics, element of 3D printing, if you see, they are looking at either making the process that you establish for incubation to realization, making it faster, or removing all the waste into that, or you make the product more efficient, right? So either the process or product are going to be more and more capable, more and more intelligent. Suppose you talk about in Industry 4.0 connected machines, right? You have a production line where you have inventory of various parts. One moves from one place to other place. Maybe there is a milling machine, cutting machine, you have lathe. All are connected and they are knowing exactly the state of the other machine, eventually to drive that process to make it more efficient. Right. So Industry 4.0 touches all this element at the grassroots level, making it more and more, making the process more efficient, eventually removing all the waste that you have.
Wonderful. So,
and bringing the sustainability area where the KPI is very, very critical is the key for the green dimension. So let it be for OEM or tier 1. End users demand side we will see maybe next time, in the next question, but this is what it is.
Wonderful. So it would be fair to say that automation is actually helping the industry lower its energy footprint, carbon footprints, utility footprints, reducing its downtime, increasing efficiency. So in a way it's able to ensure that the OEMs or industry stays on the journey to carbon neutrality.
Absolutely. And the next generation of 4.0, Industry 4.0 is 5.0, right, where this element of sustainability
will come in. Yeah, I think we'll come back to that in a minute, but that's wonderful perspective. Thank you, Shirish. That was interesting. So moving from automation, we had a OEM perspective, we had a automation perspective, and the third most critical ingredient is the people dimension. And Neelam emphatically mentioned that she's a mechanical engineer, and we are just coming out of the parliament that passed 33% reservation for women. It's so nice to see that someone who has worked with major OEMs, auto OEMs, Neelam has seen people dimension very closely. We all have seen wonderful WhatsApp video of all Tata Motors assembly line run by women. So we would like you to bring in the people dimension. How ready are we in greening the mobility in terms of people skilling, reskilling? Are there any gaps? What else we need to do to ready ourselves for this leap of faith to green mobility? Neelam.
Sure, Dr. Utgikar, thank you for this question. I'm very passionate about when I talk about people, especially the skilled people. I'll start with the data that Mr. Rajiv was quoting in the morning, that by 2030, we need almost 2 trillion skilled workforce. From where is it going to come in? So the point here is, and today, this workforce that we have, they are like, and I'm talking mainly with reference to the automotive industry. They understand the current automotive, but are they ready for the future? When we are talking about EV, when we are talking about hydrogen vehicles, alternate fuel vehicles, and other technology vehicles, is there a readiness there? And what can we do about this? So let me highlight on few points. One is identifying the skill gap. That is where primarily me and my organization that we work in. That okay, this is where my current skilled workforce lies in, and I'm mainly here refers to the blue collar and the skilled trade, because that's the operation people. And if I need to tell them, or if I need to educate them about the EV, about the battery management system, battery technologies, battery cooling, how am I going to do it? I know there are a lot of skilling agencies like ASDC is there, NSDC is there, and there are so many other, they are doing it. What we are doing primarily here is, basically we have a dedicated platform where we skill them particularly for the EV, and we have some OEMs where we are working in the EV space, so that we will give you the ready-made workforce that you can deploy from the very first day on your production line or your requirement for the service technicians. This is identifying the skill gaps, skilling them. Dr. Utgikar also asked me, what about reskilling, or the people that who are already existing? What can we do about it? And they should not be felt that, oh, am I left behind? And this is because for the fresh, you can train them and you can put them. So for those people also is very, very important. And here I wanted to request the OEMs and the skilling agencies out here. This is very, very important to also introduce the incentivization system. Like if your employees are taking up the courses, or they are reskilling themselves, there should be and must be an incentives, so that they get that, okay, I'm making myself ready for the future of the vehicle, for the futures. So that's the one thing. Secondly, we have also understand that, as agencies like us, in collaboration with ASDC and NSDCs, we can develop these specified programs like for two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, and train this. And that is where we are exactly doing it up. So I believe, just to summarize on the part is, skilling and training the fresh graduates, reskilling or upskilling the existing workforce, and slowly gradual transition of them into for the vehicle for the futures is very, very important. And that's where OEMs can play the role, skilling partners like us can play the role, and we also see the governmental supported bodies to play a role to play.
Wonderful. So I think clearly the cart cannot run ahead of the horse. The technologies keep going, but the people are left behind. Cannot be there. Do you agree, Ajay? You are one of the largest employers of manpower. So do you see that needs skills gap, and is there enough being done?
Yeah, this kind of skilling is very essential, very important nowadays, because the technology is changing, and this skill upgradation, what Ms. Neelam said, is absolutely, in the right direction.
Wonderful. So, we have had 3 different perspectives in the opening round. Let me go a step further. And again, Ajay, I'm going to come back to you. We know that technology landscape is evolving fast. On one hand, the industry is fast moving forward to electric vehicles. There is so much getting talked about it. On another hand, there is a big development that is happening in the hybrid space, where there is a coexistence of conventional IC engine based mobility versus and also the electric vehicles. Biofuels is a big on agenda. In fact, Global Biofuel Alliance at G20 spoke about big role for biofuels in this evolving landscape, and how it can coexist with the existing mobility. There is hydrogen, another fuel that is coming in. So how is the whole technology landscape moving? And if you can throw light specifically on why biofuels is considered as one of the very promising solution for our nation in particular.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Utgikar. Nowadays, as far as the efficiency and emission norms are concerned, there is a separate study which is going on, which is called as well to will. Sometimes it is also classified as well to tank and tank to will. So basically, it is nothing but the standard.
That is from oil exploration to the tanking of the vehicle, and then wheel is actually the operation.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
This particular analysis determines the exact value about the emission norms and also the efficiency of that particular energy source.
So across the value chain, that is. I think restaurant industry calls it farm to fork. So everybody has a way to measure the footprints across the value chain.
Exactly. So when we do this particular analysis, or when we talk about this particular analysis, we know diesel is the most efficient energy source. But as far as the carbon footprint is concerned, that is also it has a major carbon footprint.
Issues,
as far as the better carbon footprint is concerned, I think hydrogen fuel cells will be the best fuel.
Of the best,
But both are extremities, because the hydrogen fuel cell, though this technology is not today, we cannot go on a bigger way, because hydrogen itself is extremely explosive and very dangerous gas, very difficult to handle and store into the car. So we have to find some path in between, and that's the reason this biofuel term comes into the picture. Biofuel, we also have flex fuels, also hybrid cars, what we talk about. The main advantage is that there is definitely a reduction in the carbon footprint because of this biofuel. Another advantage is this, we India, let's talk about India first, because India being the agriculture-based country, this can go hand in hand with industry, and this, if we go with the introduction of the biofuels or more into the flex fuels, I think this will boost agriculture as well as industry both. So this is the major advantage what we can see over here.
Biofuels.
Yeah, with the biofuels. This also has another added advantage, that because we are going for the flex fuels, the existing ecosystem for catering to the main OEMs, that will go without any disruptions. Because
unlike a EV.
Exactly, because if we really think about EVs, then our tier 1, tier 2 industries, they need to have a major revamps. And
auto component suppliers, that
absolutely. But with this flex fuel, there won't be any much of the changes, and again, this small scale and the OEMs again can go, I will say, withstand in the market peacefully, and both can grow.
So you are kind of protecting the existing supplier base, existing vendor base, and also I think fuel dispensing and aftermarket infrastructure also.
Exactly, that's the point. I think this will be the one of the better solution in my personal opinion.
So because we need to create meaningful jobs, we cannot afford disruptions by way of completely change in assembly lines, fewer components mean fewer suppliers, different kind of infrastructure creation for dispensing.
Correct.
So on.
We can keep on upgrading, but complete change will be a big disruption.
So you are saying coexistence is the key, and that's where biofuels.
Yeah, correct. That's it.
It's a very interesting perspective. I think Toyota, launched a strong hybrid vehicle.
Yeah. So recently they came with this, I think Innova, which is a strong hybrid. I think, and that is also giving better results.
So that uses a higher blend, upwards of 20% up to 85%, and also has an electric drive chain. I think that's a very valid point. Now, Ajay mentioned about potential disruptions in the value chain. And these tier 1, 2 suppliers are often stemming from MSME. Shirish, when we talk of MSME, India's 25% of contribution to the GDP is by MSME. About 50% of India's export is on MSME. About 700 lakh MSMEs are registered in India. It's a backbone of our economy. So how does MSME have a play into this whole journey of green mobility? If you can throw some light.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me step back and bring this perspective of whether the EV or hybrid system simplify the world for either the OEM or even MSME. Let's talk more about MSME, where we come down from say 20,000 parts, so say to 2,000 parts only, and we simply replace that engine by motor and battery management system. And simplistically, everybody starts saying, okay, 2,000 parts, I can do it. So MSME starts jumping into that, and that is exactly what has happened in the ecosystem, where small two-wheelers with slower speeds, specifically less than 25 kmph and 25 watt kind of a motor specification has to be done. And around 7 years to 8 years back, that door got opened for MSMEs to jump in. And almost like a bandwagon, everybody got jumping in. There had been some very strong guidance about how much indigenization is required, how much a portion that has to be actually created by your own. And eventually, if you see right now, there has been, and the reason for that failure, if you can say, certain MSME has been identified, even larger brands have been identified that they have faltered the guidelines. Now, government has been helping out in the form of FAME 1 and now 2, then 3 is coming up. There are production linked incentives for MSME which are actually working out. Certain portions, if you see that those benefits have got slowly exhausted or fizzled down. So there is, I think there was a mention, a very strong mention in the morning by Mr. Uday, that government has to bring those policies in where further help is to be extended, not only for getting the policies in place, right for the need on the demand side, how we can make this vehicle that is getting created more beneficial, more efficient,
Absolutely.
more better than the cost that you have. So MSME has got a large role to play as such with the product development aspect, which with there is a lot of learning for MSME that has to happen from the corporate larger players. That's
so you are saying that without MSME we cannot transition to green mobility.
Absolutely,
and MSMEs are gearing up. They need to perhaps step up the game, right?
They have to step up the game. The guidance would be that there is nothing which is a shortcut. If at all OEMs are spending huge amount of time for proving their product in the form of homologation, working with ARI like agencies, ICAT like agencies, there is a long way that.
But typically the MSMEs are starved of resources, technology, R&D, and people like you actually help MSMEs pick up that.
So help is
blind
available.
spot.
What we need to have for MSME is the level of patience to really hold on to that particular. You are manufacturing a vehicle, right, and you are bringing it to the life. Be it tier 1, where you are actually kind of safeguarded for certain of your interests from OEMs. But if you are standing on your own feet, better that you are actually cutting all the areas that you have. I think in the morning, Mr. Uday said very clearly he's manufacturing 3-wheelers. What is that if at all you don't have the demand getting created? Where he is going to sell those?
Understood. Right? So clear. I think MSME have got a big role to play. So Neelam, I'm going to come back to you for the end of the second round, and it's becoming increasingly clear that we need all hands on the deck. It's a team sport. We've had OEMs say that we will green our supply chains. We've had some MSME people saying that we are into this together. We need to step up. You are saying people dimension. what else needs to happen, Neelam? Because everything we want done yesterday. So what can accelerate our journey to green mobility?
Sure. And I'm going to talk about the perspective from all the three: industry, education institutes, and as a community, what we can do. So like Ajay was mentioning it, regarding biofuels, hydrogen cells, electric vehicles we just talked about. Industry and academia needs to put up a research, and I know they are already doing it. The OEMs have been investing in R&D, and I know there are some OEMs who are even investing 10% of their whole revenue in the R&D. So that investment in the technology is very, very much required in today, because you cannot do R&D 10 years down the line when everybody is already there. Then it will be a catching up. So that's the investment from the industry perspective. And when we are talking about sustainable mobility or the green mobility, EV is one part of it. We need to understand there are alternative fuels, there is micro mobility, there is shared mobility, because we are talking about the ecosystem of sustainable mobility. So it's like, I know we are so passionate about talking about EV, but I believe it's important to talk about that shared mobility, the transportation system, because that's also going to add up to the green mobility future.
Definitely.
So how can, as a consumer, the OEMs can give more incentivization for using the sustainable mobility piece? This is from the industry. I talked about the academia, like along with the industry, having
I think there was insightful
research
presentation on
yes, the research done. Also, we need to make our future generations ready and have more awareness about this. And I believe the academic institutes can play a more role into that. They need to understand what are the future. There should be sessions even in the colleges. What are the future of the mobility? And that should be part of the academics. From the community side, where, what all that. So how aware we are about the sustainable mobility. So raising that awareness piece. I understand, we talked about sustainability because this is a fab word right now, everybody tried to use it. But do you know that, I'll just give you an example, a truck making a trip of 600 kilometers, how much carbon it emits? Almost 4 tons of carbons. I'm saying of a truck of 25 ton cargo load kind of. So are we aware of this? And unless we are aware of this, we are not going to make an effort. So it's very, very important to understand the effort, whether it is from the carbon emission side, where it's about the shared mobility users side as a community. How are we aware? And that's where I believe if we are the people who understand this, we need to make more awareness about this.
Wonderful. I think if I understand you correctly, you said that it's not just industries, it's not just the institutions, it's not just the policy makers, it's also about society. And I think we have to give it to OEM Update magazine for setting up something like this, which will go a long way in helping people realize that we are into all this together, and we as brand ambassadors of automobile industry need to take this message forward and create our society ready. So it has to be bottoms up as well as tops down. I think that's very wonderful. I think we have just about running out of time. I wonder whether there are any questions from the audience, if we can take one or two. Yeah, sure. I think there is one at the back there.
First of all, thank you for the insightful panel discussion. A lot to know from you all. We have the discussion were more into EV sector as well. So coming back to 2020 energy conservation bill that was brought into the parliament by government of India, and during the discussion in the parliament, the few statistics that were shown to by the government as well, that around 77% of India's electricity generation is by coal, by thermal energy. So are we changing the goal, like goal sets, like bringing EVs is not the solution of a green energy or green mobility entirely, because the electricity or the energy generation is still by the non-renewable sector. Besides, this is one question. Besides that, I am from Northeast India, and each year there are several months that Northeast India goes through a series of floods, and there are places, villages where we are without electricity sometimes for months. So if you're just transforming, as you, ma'am has cited some of the statistics that government of India by 2030 wants to have a large segment of public transportation completely EV. So in that case, in case of Northeast or places like Northeast, which is without electricity, what will the condition of that people? And lastly, one question more. Ma'am also told about alternative fuels. So in the last few months or last few years, we have seen global OEMs as well as OEMs from India, including Mahindra as well, bringing on to, including Tata as well, bringing on to India's own EVs in the market, and they're targeting as well. But we all know EVs has limitations, many limitations. So coming on to the alternative fuels, I don't know whether if I have read huge targets or huge news or market brands that are bringing on to alternative fuels. Any example of it?
Understood. So, okay, just to quickly, because this is a long question, 3 sub-questions and each will have probably a 15-minute answer. But to quickly give you a 2-3 points run down, you're absolutely right. EVs are super efficient in carbon footprint as long as the electricity charging is coming from renewables. India is the only nation in the G20 club which is on course with its renewable energy targets. We are speeding up very fast. We are not there yet. So today EV is not possibly the best solutions. You are absolutely spot on. And I think that's where Mr. Kavade said that biofuels, which actually help include the rural economy into India's mainstreaming of economy, is actually a great way to move forward because they provide alternate revenue stream to farmers. So biofuels are here to stay. There are newer technologies in terms of green hydrogen that is coming in. So energy landscape is very different. That's a different discussion topic also. But your points are valid that the transition to cleaner, greener energy sources need to be fast enough so as to sustain the EV momentum. I think there was one more question at the back, and that would probably be the last question for the session. Yeah, sir.
Hello, I'm Rajiv Dhawan. I just have a question that how do we decompose the electric vehicle batteries? In the sense that we are going for e-mobility, but this is one point I would like to know from the panel that how.
Sir, that's a brilliant question, and my request to Mr. Prasad here is you next, understanding our voice of customer, you need to set up one conference purely for EVs. Okay, the technologies are evolving to see how the batteries can be made decomposable, although today there is no fail-proof solution in place yet, which is dicto for solar panels, dicto for wind turbine blades. There are technologies which are done on pilot scale, even on demonstration scale, but till the time it climbs the product life cycle curve to be self-sustaining, such technologies will remain in showcase. So you are absolutely right. There is a lot of apprehension that is being spoken, that in our enthusiasm to solve today's problem, are we creating even bigger problem for tomorrow, which is actually decomposing of semiconductors, batteries, polymers, the wind turbine blades are polymers and so on. So there are no good answers, I'm afraid, to your question today.
But
Should I just add
sir,
in?
from Volkswagen, I believe the sir is there. What is Germany doing about decomposing of electric vehicle batteries?
Probably.
Yeah, your question is right. Yes, Volkswagen, we have started some development in this particular regard, wherein in our plant in Salzgitter, we have started decomposing of these batteries and taking out and extracting all the raw materials which can be recycled. But at present, the scale is very on the lower side. I will say hardly 5% of the batteries can be recycled so far. So, I mean, it is just a beginning. I think it will go in its way in the coming future.
Thank you.
I'll just add up this. I was working in my previous assignment with ARI. What should we do after 5 years when these batteries? The other options that we started discussing in the industry is, can we reuse this in the other applications? That's the one thing that's been coming very, very clearly. Secondly, already Ajay has said that what all can I extract from the the battery and reuse that whole stuff so that I can make a new battery. So these are some of the discussions that have been going on. But yes, there has been a lot of investment and research going on the ultra batteries, on the lead phosphorus batteries, and the other ones, so that there is a higher performing batteries in a smaller place that can be done in, and there is all those research going on.
like I said, technologies are there: reduce, recycle, reuse, replenish, repurpose, rescale. So some of the other things are being explored, but everybody is in agreement that precious metals are import. We are import dependent. There is a big problem in waiting, and we have to find some fail-proof solutions. I think with that, I think we are. If there is any one quick comments across closing remarks that
I'll take that up. The question about EV, whether EV is a solution or not, whether
Shirish, we can take that offline. You can give some closing comments, and
I'm just going to conclude by that. So that I'll leave it to the forum, and there is good amount of debate that will happen about EV versus hybrid. Do we really want to go there? Are ICE sufficient? Are we kind of defying ourselves away from hybrid, which might be a solution? Why we are doing that? Why is some certain policies been there, not been there? Are we really getting that support? These are questions that are still there. So I will stop myself asking those questions back, because there are no straight answers to that.
Very good. Neelam, quick line. I have Prasad
just
breathing
do
down my
one
neck.
line. It's important to invest for the skill of the future, and we have to invest in our people. And this is a request with all the academicians and the industries. Invest in the skill for the future.
Yeah, this Global Biofuel Alliance has been set up in India's G20 presidency recently, and I think as we spoke before, if we go ahead with this particular initiative, this will give rise to this Atmanirbhar initiative, which is already floated by our government of India. Thank you.
Wonderful. I mean, that I first of all, I want to thank organizers, Prasad and Sagar and the entire team for hosting this. You've been a wonderful audience, just as my fellow panelists, throwing very insightful perspective. The message is clear that we are all into this together. We can do this together. There is a bigger objective of Atmanirbharta, environmental compliance, employment generation, and above all, compliance with sustainable development goals of United Nations waiting for us if we actually step on the gas and go very fast towards this green mobility. Thanks once again. Thank you.